This here is to possibly help with making low voltage wire connections. You don't have to strip your low voltage wires off a whole bunch in order to make a good connection. Here, the recommendation on the thermostats is 1/4 inch. So if you get in the habit of just stripping off 1/4 inch off the end of your the insulator off of your copper, you're good to go. One of the other things that you got to keep in mind is that when you strip the insulator off, sometimes you can notch that copper. Copper is very soft. If you put a little notch in it, then you can actually break it off. That's how we used to deal with cap tubes. If we had to replace a cap tube on a refrigeration system, we'd take a knife and we would notch all the way around the cap tube, and then we would snap it with 2 pairs of pliers, and it would give us a perfect round hole. Well, if we notch this, if you make your wire connection, if you twist them together or you pigtail the wires, and don't ever pigtail your wires. The service tech that comes up behind you will be mad. But anyway, what we're going to do is we take these 2 wires and we just put them next to each other. Now, we have a choice of wire nuts. When we're dealing with 18 gauge, 2 wire, we're putting 2 wires together. A yellow is way too big. See, it will hold, see, and you can tug on it and everything, but that's not the correct wire connector for our low voltage wire. It comes off real easy. There's a spring on the inside of these, and what it does is it'll actually push these wires together and kind of give them a slight twist. So yellow is out of the picture. Well, the next one down is orange. So if we put orange on there, let's see, we can get a good connection there with orange somewhat. How hard is it to take off? Yeah. See, you want to be able to take your wires back loose again. Orange is a possible good candidate. Now, with this only being stripped off that short, when we have the orange on there, we don't have to worry about any of our wires being able to touch because of the insulation is down below the wire nut. One of the other choices that we have is blue. This is more common wire nut that we use for low voltage wiring. Again, it's still got the little spring on the inside. And when we put those 2 wires together, we can get some good twists out of it, and we get more pushed together with the blue wire nut than we do the orange. The orange will make a connection, but the blue wire nut will actually push more of these 2 wires together and make a good connection. So when you're finishing your connection, make sure you get that little 1/4 of a twist on there. That means you got a good solid connection. Let the wire nut do its job. Now, when I was talking about pigtails, and this is what really makes service technicians mad, especially if they have to take low voltage wiring loose in order to do whatever they have to do, fix a break in the wire or whatever. Some of the technicians thinks it's a real cute idea if they take the wire and do this. And that's called pigtailing. And that'll get you shot. Service technicians hate this because if we have to use this wire or take this wire loose for whatever reason, it's just a pain in the ass. So don't do this. When you're doing your wire connections, let's do our yellows. Get our yellow. And our yellow. Get our ends up here. You get in the habit of stripping them off 1/4 of an inch, you get pretty close to where you need to be. Get those 2 together, put our yellow wire nut on, get some good twists on there. There we go. Got us a little 1/4 of a twist. We don't have it pigtailed. This will come loose, but only when you take it loose. The blue wire nut has more of the copper wire in the spring than the orange does. So this is what I recommend. Now they do have another one that sometimes comes out with all the units, and it's something that you can consider. I mean, especially if you're on a tight budget, the wire nuts don't cost that much. We put our oranges together here. They'll have the gray. This is the smallest wire nut I think that you can get. And there again, if you put it on there, we still have good insulation where we don't have any copper showing below the wire nut, so that's good. And we get some couple of twists on here. Get our little quarter twist going there, so we got a good tight wire connection. Okay, gray could be it. Let's try another one. Let's go with blue. This is our common. This is what we normally use as our common wire. Get them up close together. Put a gray on where insulation is up above inside the wire nut, so we don't have to worry about our wires touching. Get us a quarter turn going. Means we're nice and tight. Professional. Let's do our green. I like the blues. I feel like I get more copper into the wire nut with the blue than I do the gray, but the gray still is viable. So if you come with grays, go ahead and use them. We got our two reds together here, got good insulation. See, it twists too quick. I get more copper into the wire nut on the blue than I do on the gray. And most of the problems that we have, especially like in crawl spaces where you have a little bit more damp connection or damp conditions, sometimes the damp conditions will fault some of your wire connections if they're not tight. And see, I'm getting more copper up into that wire nut with the blue than I am the gray. Get a quarter twist going. And we're going to do our last one here. And let's just do that with a gray. There we go. Now, if you have to make a new wire connection and you have to replace, say you have to replace one of the low voltage wires, a connection between the thermostat and the outdoor unit, there's a break on the inside somewhere, you have to replace the line from where the thermostat wire comes down to the outdoor unit, then you make a connection like this. Connect all the wires, even your brown and your black, even though they may not be used, you may need to use them in the future. After you've made your wire connections, kind of professional is if you slightly bend them back, not twist them hard, and then just slap a little wire nut around there. What that does is that says that you're a little bit more of a professional. Just like that, your connections won't come loose. Next service guy comes along, you take it loose, whatever they need to do.